Hi, this is Steve with Coin Stuff I Like, and more specifically, Carson City Stuff I Like. This is part five of my Carson City collection video series, and this one will cover trade dollars from 1876 to 1878. Part four was trade dollars from 1873 to 1875. Um, I presented this previously in part four and even previous parts when I was talking about the Seat of Liberty dollars. And we're going to be covering 1876, 1877, 1878 when the trade dollar was discontinued and the Morgan dollar was started. So we'll pick up with the Morgan dollars in part six, but right now let's talk about this 1876 to 1878. If you remember last time, I also mentioned that uh, coin press number one was the only coin press at the Carson City Mint until about midway through 1875. So that means that these trade dollars in 1876 through 1878 could have been minted or struck on a coin press other than coin press number one, or in addition to coin press number one. So let's take a look at some of look at the specimens that I have. In 1876, the mintage dropped to 509,000. The previous year, it was like three times that. It was nearly 1.6 million, and that was in 75 and 74. It was about 1.4 million, just under 1.4 million. So there was a big drop in production. Of this, 216,000 were struck in January of 76. So they minted nearly half of the total mintage for the year in January. And they continued on until April, and they stopped, and their primary focus was then on minting the smaller denominations from dime through half dollar, and then the double eagle, gold double eagle. Um, but during this time, and it may or may not have had a role in the ultimate mintage here, during this time, Carson City Mint got embroiled in some politics, and primarily, I'm going to say, more San Francisco politics and national politics. So, um, the some of the big wigs in San Francisco, Central Pacific Railway, Wells Fargo, because of the Carson City Mint, they lost money. That all that ore that was being produced in Virginia City and the Comstock load, instead of it coming down to San Francisco, where in those companies were making big bank. If that happens, by introduction of Carson City Mint, it means that they're losing money. It just so happened that a Wells Fargo employee uh, showed a quote unquote showed a mint agent some Carson City trade dollars, and said that they're not weighing properly, and they're damaged. Da 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 da. Well, 1875 was the big fire in Virginia City, and some of these were stored. Trade dollars were stored in Wells Fargo in Virginia City and were damaged by the fire. So if that Wells Fargo employee was looking at that, then it was using damaged goods. The bottom line is it launched a big investigation, in which the Carson City Mint was ultimately exonerated. And also during this time, there were bills that were talking about closing the Carson City Mint and opening a mint in the Mississippi Valley, and a bill to open a mint in Indianapolis, which those bills were defeated. But there was a lot of political shenanigans going on in the back half of 1876 that may or may not have played a role in this mintage figure. The estimated survival by Rusty Go is 550 to 895, which is about 1 to 2% of the population. PCGS Coin Facts says there's about 300 of these surviving, so a little bit less. There were 10 die pair varieties that have been identified. 3 of them were the type 1 obverse, type 1 reverse pairing, and 7 of them were type 1 obverse and type 2 reverse. The phasing out of the type 1, if you remember last time I talked about the type 1, the tips of the scrolls are pointing left as opposed to pointing straight down in the straight down in the type 2, and 3 fingers in the type 1, 4 fingers in the type 2. Also, there's some differences for the reverse die, which I'll go over in just a second. Now this one, again, I mentioned this last time with the 73 misplaced date. This one here I bought, and it was not attributed as a double die reverse, but I took a look at it, and lo and behold, it's a double die reverse at FS 801. So I sent it back in to be attributed. So again, just because it's not attributed on the label of a graded coin, check it out. You might have something there. So this is one where it has a pretty profound double die reverse to FS 801. Of the survivors, 366 are straight graded by PCGS. Again, we've talked about, don't think of this as an exact number because there's crossovers back and forth between NGC and PCGS. For the FS 801, there's only 8 that are straight graded by PCGS. Remember, PCGS doesn't report details grade. This is an AU details coin, so it's not appearing in the population report. So there could be as many as 9 of these in PCGS holders, and maybe more if there's some other details coin. And of course, back and forth between NGC, it's not certain if this number is exact. Suffice it to say is that there aren't very many of these around. Okay, so remember, this is one die, and there's not that many left. Maybe 1% of that die production was left, and there's not that many left around. So let's take a look close. So here's the 1876, a little bit closer up. You can see fairly good details. The fields are not in great shape, but fairly good details on the devices. So there's a lot of meat on the bones there. This one here, the reverse is a type 1. The arrow only goes to the 0. If the arrow went to the 2, that's a type 2. I mean, how convenient is that? If the arrow goes to the 2, it is a type 2 reverse. And there's also differences in the berries here, or the olive berry here. And as I mentioned, the type 1, this is a type 1 that the tips of the scrolls are pointing left. They're not pointing straight down. There's only 3 fingers. So this is a type 1 obverse, type 1 reverse, and there, as I mentioned earlier, there's only 3 of those out of the 10 die pairs. Um, and But this one here, as I said, is a little bit more special. This has a double die, and let's take a look. So here's some pretty obvious. You look at the olive branch here. This olive branch is doubled down here, extending up into here. There's eagle feathers extending down here. The olive branch and extends all the way out here. We can also see this part of the olive branch, the primary olive branch, is replicated down here. And there's other areas like there's doubling of the talons on the eagle's right talon. I mentioned the doubling of the feathers here, and then further there's also markers. Again, other doubling. There's a die gouge that connects the two C's here. There's broken serifs like on this L here, the second L, and then also in the United States of America, there's some broken serifs. All of these are markers for this FS 801 double die reverse. And it's the most prominent double die reverse of the Carson City trade dollars, of course. So very nice one, nice pickup. Wasn't attributed that way. I got the coin home and I was looking at it, take a look because I like to identify the die varieties, and sure enough, this is a nice pickup. 1877 saw a mintage of 534,000, and this was a little bit more than the previous year. But in 1877, towards the end of 1877, there's talk in Washington about scrapping the trade dollar and going to a regular circulating silver dollar in the United States. So in Carson City, they minted 30,000 in May, but they ended up stopping, and were actually requested to stop in October. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, they're minting the heck out of these things, and the reason why is because not necessarily for shipping to the Orient for trade purposes as originally designed, but what had happened is the price of silver had gone down since inception. And if you remember, bullion dealers would have to pay up. They'd have to pay a premium for a trade dollar. So they had to pay more than $1 to get a trade dollar at the start. But the price of silver had dropped to the point where a trade dollar, face value $1, was worth more than $1 of silver, about 4% more. So the bullion dealers were, hey, let's get this. So San Francisco is cranking them out. I mentioned that Carson City, their highest production year was in 1875 with nearly 1.6 million. Well, in this period, later period of trade dollar production, San Francisco produced 1.5 million in 1 month. They're just cranking these things out. But Carson City, only 534,000. They're asked to stop production as of mid to late October. That's when the talk was going on in Washington. Of these, 400 to 525 survive. CoinFact says 400. This is Rusty Go's estimate. Regardless, it's less than 1%, and maybe 0.1% to 0.9%. So less than 1% of the mintage survived. Now, part of this may have been that some of these, a few of these, were left around in 1878 when they actually the mints were ordered to melt what they still had on the premises. And Carson City did have some of these, not many, maybe 3,000 of them were on the premises. So some of the low survival rate may be mintage, and some of it may be that they were used in commerce in the Orient, among other things. To produce that 534,000, there have been 10 die pair varieties. These now are all type 2 obverse and type 2 reverse. This particular one is variety 7, which is a right slanted date and a low C on the Carson City on the CC mint mark. There's a total of 332 of these are straight graded by PCGS. This one here is straight graded as a VF30, and there are 21 graded VF30 and 281 higher. Regardless, if you look at that, that is only about 300 of them. 300 of them are VF 30 and higher of this 400 to 525 that remain. Here's what it looks like. Now this one here doesn't have as bright reflective surfaces as the other two that I'm going to show or have shown and will show. But I really like this. I love the natural look to it, the original look to it, and there's some wear on it, meaning this was either used in commerce or at least traded hands. There are no chop marks here, so it probably stayed here in the U.S. This is what it means by the low C. You can see they're uneven here, so that identifies that die. Also note the arrow extends all the way to the 2, so a type 2 reverse, and there are four fingers present, starting at the top down here. It's 4 fingers, type 2 obverse. In 1878, the writing is on the wall. In Washington, they had decided there's not going to be any more of these trade dollars. We're going to go to a standard circulating silver dollar here in the United States. And in fact, in July, the mints received an order to melt whatever trade dollars you still had on the premises. So Carson City actually had about just over 44,000 in their vaults there at Carson City. So they melted all of those. So they minted 97,000 earlier, up until July, but in July they were ordered to melt them. So it dropped this number down to, just under 54,000 remained as soon as July of 1878. Of those, only about 250 to 325 are estimated to survive by Rusty Go. 350 estimated to survive by PCGS Coinfax. That's about 2.5 to 3.3% of this original mintage. Because of the low number that were produced, they only required only 4 die pair varieties that were identified. All of them were type 2 obverse, type 2 reverse. And this one was the variety 1 die pair, which is a wide right date and CC slanted up, which you'll see in a moment. Total of 250 of these are straight graded by PCGS, and the grade population for XF45. This is a straight graded version. There's 24 with 84 higher. Just as an aside, for this date range, 76, 77, 78, if you're looking for an uncirculated version of this, there are estimated only about 1/10. No, I take that back. 1/100th of 1% that are in uncirculated condition, maybe extending up to 5/100ths of 1% remain that are uncirculated. Just as an aside. So here is the 1878, the slanted CC. Again, the arrow extends to the 2, 4 fingers. So a type 2 obverse, type 2 reverse. It's a pretty good example. Of course, this is the XF. There's not much. There's a little bit of the original mint luster that you'll see in the video. And of course, it has a lot of marks and dings, but it made straight grade, and it's a pretty nice specimen in hand with a lot of details remaining on the devices. So let's take a look at these three on video, and you'll get another way or another appreciation for these three coins. And here they are in video. So first one, the 1876. This one is AU detail, tooled. Sort of hard to find the tooling, but it's there. This one here has some reflectivity in the fields. Has good details left on the devices. It's a nice looking coin for a details coin. So I'm happy to have this one in the collection. The CC at the bottom, mint mark, and again, nice details on the devices. And that's the first one. The second one is a straight graded coin. It is a VF30. VF30, and this one has none of the original mint luster or anything. It has some use, like it's been used in circulation. There's no chop mark on this coin, but I like this one, and this is coin stuff I like, and I like the sort of terminal color, as some people will call it that. I like the color on it, the toning and the use and the wear. It's been used, and it's stuff I like. So a VF30, 1877. And then lastly, the last of the trade dollar from Carson City is the a straight graded 1878 CC. Let me see if I can get that where we can read it. There we go. XF45. This one has a little bit of reflectivity in the field. I mean, it's a hint of original mint luster on it. The details are pretty good, and it's a straight grade, so I'm pretty happy with that as well. So there you go, a little bit of sort of cameo effect in this lighting on the eagle. You know, lots left there on the devices. So nice back end of the Carson City trade dollar series. So there you have it. The part 5, the trade dollars from 1876 through 1878. I hope you enjoyed it. Next time, part 6, we start with the Morgan silver dollar run. And again, I'll stick to roughly three, no more than 4 coins per video. Again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And remember, be smart about what you buy, but definitely buy stuff you like. See you next time. Bye-bye.